Hello gorgeous ones, I hope you are well. Rosanna here, just wanted to do a little update with my crown for being sovereign about yesterday's activities, because I went down to London to see what all the fuss was about, and really how we can move from this place of thinking positive, being optimistic, having blind faith, like how are things really going to change? Because one thing I'm seeing is, on the one hand, if you want to call it the resistance, is growing. Certainly the numbers are increasing. Every time I've been down and seen what's going on with these marches, they're increasing. And also, on the positive side of things, less and less police presence, which is amazing. I mean, there was really hardly anyone there yesterday. There was loads and loads and loads of people and hardly any of the police, which, you know, was awesome. And those who were walking alongside. There was no problem whatsoever in all the time that I was there. Yet, what I see people doing still is hanging on with blind faith for the next update from the PM, the next bit of news that tells us we can go back to normal. And I keep seeing this in those of us who are in a path of ascension, where our blind spots are, and this is why I wanted to say this, because people are going, think positive, think positive, think positive, everything's going to be fine, it's all going to change, we're going to go back to normal, everything's going to be okay. And yet people who have been practicing discernment for a long time have been practicing taking a step back, taking a step up, and starting to look at the patterns that have been playing out for an awfully long time. So if we just take the last 16 months, we can say everything that was a concern 16 months ago, the people that were speaking up, the anti-establishment, if you like, was speaking up saying, hold on a minute, this is the precursor to all these issues that are going to come along, whether it's passports, whether it's jabs, whether it's more control, more surveillance for our own safety. Our own safety. Heard that one before. It's all happened. And here's the strangest thing. We are dealing at the moment with a situation where we are all being coerced into saying yes to something experimental that doesn't actually stop you catching it, passing it on, dying from it. It doesn't actually stop you, basically being, all that they can say it's done is to reduce the mild symptoms. In which case, if there was ever a case for anything asymptomatic, you would be concerned, wouldn't you, if you didn't have any symptoms. And we have people, public profile people, dying, right? Literally within days, weeks of having gone and got theirs. And there are stories that are being put out in the media now where people are speaking out, and there is a gathering of trying to actually speak up and say, hold on a minute, why are we doing this? But the most concerning thing is the narrative has changed massively in the mainstream. This is like the Mandela effect, right? From sort of, this is just going to be about those who are most at risk, and this is going to be the solution for them, and they're the only people we're going to target, to now we've got to give it to everybody, including teenagers and children, and those who are opposed to it are going to end up on some kind of blacklist. So children are being talked to by their teachers. I mean, this is happening, right? And this is the concern that is going on. And if parents seem to not be wanting to comply with the protocols, that's being flagged up. Now, we're basically not being given any guarantees. If you even look at the leaflets you're getting from our public health system, they'll tell you that there's no stopping the prevention or the transmission in terms of having this, right? So why are you having it in the first place? Because you still have to put your muzzle on, and you still have to practice the safe distancing and all the rest of it that apparently we need to do, and we're still not allowed to go on holiday. So what is the point in you actually having it? Because the reason so many people have had it is so that they can go back to normal, but that isn't actually happening. And what we're doing is we keep giving our power away to that external force, whichever external force that is representative of the patriarchy in our lives, whether it's our government, whether it's where we work, right? Whether it's where our children go to school, whether it is some kind of governance outside of us that we have to go to for permission to live our lives the way we want to. And this is the issue, is all the time we're looking for something outside to change. All the time we're looking for those figureheads to somehow say something different. We're missing the point. We have to make the choice to say this is not the way we want to go, and we don't have faith in the powers that be or should not be to lead us where we want to go. Because here's the greatest irony. We know we're lied to all the time, right, by our governments. We know that. We know that valid information that is accurate. There are actually judges that believe by watching the news they are informed about what is actually really going on. So people do believe, people in the judicial system are of the faith, the blind faith, that in getting their information from the mainstream terrestrial channels, they are actually up to date with the truth. And this is the point. Just because someone looks serious, just because someone is wearing a suit, just because someone looks like they're a professional doesn't mean that they're speaking truth. And you think about it, these people are people that are going in front of a camera and they're reading off auto cues. And we are then taking that information and we are informing ourselves, thinking we're informed, and we are acting on auto cue as well, on autopilot, and doing as we're told. It's only if you dare to kind of go, hold on a minute, things might be different to how I'm perceiving them at the moment. Let me do a little bit of research. Oh, this is getting confusing. Oh, I don't know what to believe. Oh, this is an uncomfortable process, but things are clearly not the way I thought they were because there's all this other stuff coming up now. And we do go through some kind of existential crisis before we start to accept that there is a world of illusion, of Maya, which any spiritual practice will tell you is the physical reality, the material world that we live in. And if we want to evolve as spiritual beings, we need to move through, we need to break through that illusion. And we are currently 10 years into a 20-year process of awakening, all right, of claiming our power back, of being sovereign. And that's not something that's going to just change overnight. So the title of this was like positive thinking versus wishful thinking versus, I've got so many things here, thinking positive, blind faith, being optimistic or being pessimistic. When you have travelled this road a bit longer, you realise it's not going to just shift overnight. You realise that there are lots of places that you're going to need to exert pressure. I don't like the idea of speaking all the time of being at war because ultimately that just creates more divide, and what we're seeking to do is to unite. Okay, we're seeking to say whatever our difference is, what are our common goals, what are our common intentions, how do we want to feel when we live on this planet? And this is why the work is always inside first, because we have to take care of our vibration. You know, yesterday, I don't know what the news reported on yesterday, but what I'll tell you was a really, really high vibe of many, many people. I could not see the beginning or the end of this, right? And there were nuns that were giving hugs, right? No muzzles, no nothing. Nuns giving hugs, right, outside their place. Now, if so many people are waking up to the fact that things are different to how they're being reported, and yet there are still so many people that feel they should toe the line because, you know, that's what you do. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. Better you do what you're told than get it wrong, right? This is where we're still not trusting ourselves, and it's what we need to do, because wishful thinking is imagining it's all just going to change like that, and it isn't. It's like going on 100 dates expecting that somehow, if you play the numbers game, you're going to eventually meet someone amazing. If you haven't shifted, nothing's going to change outside. Okay, so what is the shift we need to make internally? Blind faith is, oh my God, they're going to save us, they know what we're doing, going to be okay. And it's like, no, in our soul evolution, we come to a point where we realise no one is going to save us. And the people in power will change when who is in power inside of us changes. So if we put our higher self in control, if we put our soul in control, and we maintain that as a discipline daily, every day, that is the part of us that we are choosing to come from. And we practice being in our authentic truth. So calling truth in ourselves, what feels right and what doesn't feel right, and finding our way to speak that truth with love, holding people accountable, being transparent in our intentions, being compassionate and forgiving, but at the same time practicing discernment and saying this doesn't add up. I'm going to admit to myself that this doesn't add up, and now this is personally affecting me because of this situation in my life and this situation in my life. So am I going to just keep suppressing how I feel, or am I going to use these opportunities as opportunities to step up and out and to evolve my consciousness through dealing with this discomfort, dealing with this challenge in my life? We're facing the fact that our medical records are basically going to be available for purchase, right? This is all happening now. Governments changing legislation behind closed doors. Like, how are they showing up with huge volumes of paperwork that they've just produced in 24 hours? You know this isn't what's happening, and you know that we're being taken down one particular road, but there are also these other roads that are creating some kind of divide and saying we don't want this. But I'm not seeing anyone yet really talking about what we want instead. We say we want freedom, but what does that look like in our day-to-day lives? What does that look like in the institutions that we are currently involved with, that we currently have governing us? What is the solution going to be? What do we want a reformed political system to look like? What do we want as a democracy rather than a technocracy? You know, what we've got to call the problem out and then also offer a solution. This is something I'm inviting everyone to step up to, because if you don't, you're basically operating from your conditioning, and you're creating a situation where you're opposed to what is going on, but you haven't evolved beyond the opposition to a place where you are part of the solution. Okay? And if we just keep opposing, we're never going to go beyond opposition. We've got to oppose and take the step up and invite people into the next stage of what is possible by using our imagination. Okay? This is an exercise I use in all of my coaching work. It's kind of from where you don't want to be to where you do want to be. But we don't have a lot of imagination for where we do want to be. We don't have a lot of scenery for where we do want to be, because we only know the problem, we don't know the solution. So we have to create it from what we don't want. We need to then start to explore avenues of what we do want, and to see where we start to get in the weeds again, where we get messy, where we don't really know where we can progress further, because there is room for everyone here. We have got global issues going on, right? But we also have some global lies going on as well. And, you know, there are people behind the scenes working very, very hard to hold that accountability, both for the international governing organisations and the national ones as well that, you know, have been affected. It's easy to just hope things are going to get better and to feel like, how can I put this? It's easy to hope things are just going to get better. The way I see it is things are already better. Right? Things are already in a place where the shift has happened. We're just catching up with it. But we can't keep going to the people that basically abuse us and expect them not to abuse us. It's not going to happen. We are part of the abuse by allowing ourselves to keep being abused. All right? And it's very difficult to move out of a relationship like that. But the abuse is to be given distorted truth and then to abide by that lie, to live by that lie, in order to keep those who are distorting the truth happy. It's not good. It's not going to work for anyone. So to make the move from being sovereign and autonomous, like to step into this place rather than actually being in the place where you're hoping, because you're waiting for the next announcement to find out when things are going to be okay. This is the difference. We've got to stop pinning our hopes on something outside of us telling us everything's okay. We decide for ourselves what is okay and what isn't okay, and then we go about creating that. And this is about being willing to have uncomfortable conversations with yourself, with your loved ones, about what's for the very best. And where there is doubt, it is important to investigate, not just to jump in and do something without being clear what it is that you have doubt around, okay? People are doing things just in case, and it's not changing anything. People are doing things because they want to go on holiday, as I said, or they just want things to go back to normal. And as you can see, it's not changing anything. There's now another scare tactic. There's now another variant. There's now another something that is the next enemy. So if you want to move out of that polarity of like friend or foe, you realise that it's all inside of you. And it's like, if you want to be in this world and lead yourself, then lead yourself from your higher self, not from your ego self, not from your programmed self, because you will only create more of the conditioned response from your ego self. Now, the ego self is the part of you that is wired to fight, to survive, right? And I'm not saying that we don't have here a need to step forward and be counted, but we have to release the fear first. We have to let go of the idea somehow that this is all going to become better because of something outside. When we make that switch from lower self to higher self, and we keep making it daily, we keep making it hour by hour, we own our fears, we own our projections, we own where we go into a victim state because we do want someone to tell us what to do. And we own those bits of us that are just so scared, that are just so unsure, that are just so confused. And we just stay with them, we hold them, we say, I'm with you, I'm with you. What are you scared is going to happen? Okay, let's now evolve beyond that. Let's now remember our power. Let's now remember our capacity to transcend everything. just through the power of love. And when I say transcend, I mean transmute, because we have swords of compassion and spheres of compassion at our disposal. I am convinced that if we had a huge body of people, like at the march, taking some time to anchor their energy together, to intend that the reason that they step forward out there is to help people to shift their perspective, to help people understand there isn't just one way of seeing things, and to start to ask questions so that where people are absolutely adamant about their beliefs, doubt can be introduced. If we want to actually shift from a conditioned narrative to one where we are choosing our reality, choosing what we're co-creating, then we need to introduce doubt wherever we kind of have a blind faith in something. It's really important to question it. And it's really important to remember that you're never, ever, ever going to get what you want from giving your power away to someone else. You're going to have to find it inside of you, and that's when you're going to see it reflected. So, la 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 la, I don't want to know is not helpful, right? At the same time, it's all going to be okay, I don't need to do anything, isn't helpful. What do I need to do to maintain my vibration? What do I need to do so I feel better in my own life? I feel more secure, I feel more stable, I feel more able to access the infinite resources that are available to me. That's my spiritual practice. That's what I do for myself and the collective, right? And then thinking positively, from my point of view, is, things are shifting. I can see they're shifting. There is a definite movement towards positive change. However, I accept this isn't all going to happen in one go, and if my happiness is dependent on something external, I'm going to go up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. Whereas what I need to do is hold that vibration that things are shifting, I am part of that shift, maintaining my energy is the best thing I can actually do. Doing things because it feels like the right thing to do rather than I think I should do it will also help you to step into your empowerment. And where you're not sure, rather than giving your power away to someone else and asking them to tell you what to do, why don't you sit with it and then find out about how you can discover more around what you're not sure of, so you can make a decision that lands deeply in you as a certainty that is something you have made based on the information around you, not the emotional or psychological manipulation of people around you telling you what they think you should do, and certainly not telling you what you should do for other people, right? There's so many fabrications that are coming to light now. I see this planet, there's certainly in the UK, all of those old, nasty, dark forces that have been governing for a long time. That might sound a bit crazy, but I don't think it is. You know, as much as we have rituals of love and positivity, we've had rituals of anti-love and negativity going on for a very long time by the powers that be. And that has to come up and out, because we know that the people that are governing us around the world at the moment aren't governing from their hearts. They're governing from their egos. So if we want to see a different governance, we have to shift from our ego to our hearts. And as a result of that, then we will start to see this happen in the collective. So that's my invitation, is rather than waiting for the next update, consider what you want to see happen. Consider the ways round, consider the ways through, consider really whether things are the way that they are reported, because if they were, wouldn't things actually look rather different to how they currently are? Look at the information that maybe is difficult to look at for you. Join groups, become more informed. Be careful about just hanging out with those that, you know, reaffirm where you want to stay in the ignorance, all right? Be careful about judging all the time others and what they're doing. I think so many people think that these marches are anti-lockdown marches, and they're not anti-lockdown marches at all. I mean, that's an element of it, but this is about freedom of choice. This is about autonomy. This is about being heard. This is about not living in a dictatorship. This is about, you know, not being scared into giving all of our powers away. This is about thinking about the future. This is about questioning our medical authority, our medical autonomy, our medical capacity, our medical freedom. You know, why is it that we have to subscribe to one particular system that has so many? What are the materials that you are breathing in, especially in those disposable ones? And the ones that aren't disposable, think about the bacteria that you're breathing in and out. Think about the fact that you put it on, you take it off, you put it on, you take it off, then you rub your eyes. Just think about that. How does that make sense? How does it make any of it make sense? How does taking something, you know, that is going to supposedly mean you can now have a nice green tick on your travel passport, it's not actually stopping you, it's not stopping you getting anything or passing it on. Why are you doing it? Like, why? What has led you to that decision? And have you read the small print? Have you asked the questions? Like, and if you've already gone down that road and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, remember, I know people that have been through the most horrendous subjective situations where they've had their DNA messed with. And I believe everybody can totally ascend and be able to rebuild their DNA to 12-stranded DNA. We're moving into that phase, those of us who are awakening. It is one of those things now that owning why we do things is so important, because it will tell you where you are empowered and where you give your power away. And the process of surrendering to your higher self rather than being led to your ego involves a few moments of throwing your toys out the pram and kicking and screaming and having meltdowns, and that's okay, all right? Just remember not to take the burdens of the world on this journey. Deal with you first, and then you'll be much stronger for the collective. And that's why I've been stepping forward and back quite a lot myself, because I've had to do a lot of self-care around this. It's been an intense time. We're all going through this together. But we are going through this to help this planet evolve into its highest octave. And for that to happen, we have to evolve to our highest octave. So I'll leave it there. I just would like to say that being optimistic and thinking positive is important, but you've got to look at the patterns that have played out and have continued to play out through history. You can look at the patterns in the last 16 months and you'll start to see that it's like, you know, bit of hope, dashed hope. Bit of hope, dashed hope. More needing to be confined. Bit of hope, dashed hope. More needing to be confined. More control measures. Like, really look at this and consider, where do you want to go with it? And what are you personally going to do to help shift the collective narrative for one of giving our power away to taking it back? I love you. I'll leave it there.